we went to Wilco yesterday. They had all these starts for $1.25. And I think they're mostly the things that other people didn't want to grow. That's why they're the only ones left, because it's July now. These are nice starts. They're very green. They're growing very well. We have 2 peppers, 3 different types of tomatoes. Problem is now, this planter that I put here that has my pumpkins in it only gets sunlight starting at 2 p.m., which might be okay for a couple of these pumpkins. Obviously, they need more sun than that. Currently 1:30, and you can see how this tree is just perfectly blocking the sunlight from my plants here, where a month ago the sun was shifted. These got sun at noon. So that's obviously not going to cut it for peppers and tomatoes. We need 6 to 8 hours at a minimum. Perfect place to do that is over there in the middle of the yard. The only way we can put these in the middle of the yard is if we build a planter. Now, in the interest of keeping this whole thing as affordable as possible, we're going to build a planter that's on legs, and we're going to build it only out of scrap wood that we find. Step 1 in this process, gotta go find some wood. 2x6s and 2x4s, and thankfully at construction sites you can find giant roll-off containers full of them. Let's go out and see what we can find. It looks like they're just finishing up framing this place right here. Let's see what they got in the bin. Oh wow, there's actually a whole ladder right here. OSB, some other stuff. So the other one down there didn't have much in it for me. Let's check this one. Jackpot. So all these sections of 2x6s that are 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet long are perfect for making raised beds. So at the very first construction site I went to, we found all these 2x6s and 2x4s, including these 2 I already laid out right here. I'm trying to make some measurements to decide what dimensions we really want for these tomato plants. We're going to aim for about 1 foot deep. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to take 2 2x6s, we're going to stack them up, which is going to give us 11 inches. And then on top of that, we're going to have a 2x4, which is 1.5 inches wide, which will give us exactly or a little bit over 1 foot deep. We're going to want to plant them roughly 1 foot to 1.5 foot apart. But these are pretty small plants, and we really don't have too high hopes for them, so we're going to probably do 12 to 14 inches. I think I'm going to cut it down to 3.5 feet. So now I'm going to pick the 2 smallest 2x6s that I can find that I can cut into 12-inch sections, because that's going to be our width. And I'm going to cut 4 of those, because there'll be 2 on each end. So here we have 4 boards cut to 40 inches. They're not the prettiest boards, but it doesn't matter because this is going to be a planter. Didn't realize is I measured off angle miter cut into this board on top here, so it's 40 inches from the top to the other top. It won't really matter, but it might not look exactly pretty, but I can't cut this off because then it would shorten the whole board and I'd have to cut another one, so it'll do fine. The other end, I have these at 14 inches that are going to look like that on either end. Let's get this thing assembled. So what we got for hardware are 3-inch drywall screws and some 3-inch nails. These are both from a free box at a garage sale, so that's what we're working with. So I have one of them screwed together here. It gives you an idea of the dimensions. Not too bad for 3 tomato plants, evenly spaced. It's going to have plenty of soil in it, and it'll be plenty deep. So we're going to build another one of these, stack it on top, and then we're going to use some 2x4s at the corners to screw into to hold them together. Okay, now I got the top section and the bottom section independently nailed and screwed together. They're not connected. When I cut my 20-inch legs and put them on here, they're going to run along the outside. They'll be screwed in also. And so that's going to hold it together at all 4 corners. This is basically what it's going to look like. That's the height it's going to be off the ground, but we're not done. What we need to do, last step, this isn't what it's going to look like, but we're going to put a rim around the top like that so it hides the top of the legs. And the reason I put the legs on the end is so we hide the seams between the boards on the side and the boards on the front. It's going to look like that, and we'll have one running down the sides as well. Okay, now it's starting to materialize. You can see how I put these 2x4s over the top. I actually laid out pieces that were longer than they needed to be up here, and then I measured out exactly to how far out this 2x4 leg went, and I just cut it after I had already screwed it down. That made it super easy to make it equal. Somehow over here we're left with a little bit of a gap. When I drove this one in, it kind of angled this board right here. But honestly, it's not bad at all. It's going to work perfect. Some of these pieces of wood are far from perfect, but like I said, it doesn't really matter. It's going to handle plenty of weight, be plenty strong. What I need to do now, though, is I'm either going to take 2x4s or 2x6s, whichever offcuts I have, and I'm going to put them in the bottom. Those are going to support the burlap that I lay. I have to make sure I put enough of them so nowhere in there the soil gets too heavy and it falls out the bottom. Finished all my cuts, but I screwed up. I think I'm kind of stupid. I should have made 2x6s at each end. I have to have the very end supported, otherwise the fabric or the cardboard that I put along the bottom, the corners, you know, well, they'll dip down, so they're going to have to be supported at each end. So I'm going to have to cut, I think, 2 more boards and put them at either end, make sure it's all supported, but then I'll be able to line it, fill it with soil, get the tomatoes out there and in the sun. Well, there we go. About an hour and 15 minutes later, we have our planter. Now it's going to take a little bit more time to line the bottom, and I'm not going to have access to the good soil that I want until Friday. Today's Wednesday. But what I can do is go place this in the yard and kind of plan out where exactly I want to put it that gets the most combined sunlight. Now I took a 2x4 that was cut down the middle, and I put it here at this corner, and same thing over in these corners to support. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut the cardboard to fit it in there, and then we're going to take it out in the yard. Alright, so I've got it lined with cardboard. If you wanted to do something more permanent, you could line it with landscape fabric, something like that, but this will be emptied out at the end of the season as we go into fall, so it'll be better to leave it completely empty over the winter. That way the soil doesn't just sit full of moisture and rot out the wood. But anyway, so we got the cardboard in. It's got plenty of supports. We got staples just to keep it in place once the soil is in there. Going to hold it in its place and keep it from coming out. Let's take this, put it in the yard, see what it looks like. Just like that, there we have it. Free planter box. Perfect for our tomatoes. We get them out of over here. Even though right now they have some sun. Pumpkins right here. They got the net around them to keep the deer away. What do you think, Joey?
Good.
Good size?
Yes, this one.
Tomatoes are going to go in there.
Yeah.
Yep, just got to get some soil. And there you go. Simple idea of what you can do with 2x6 and 2x4 end cuts. I don't think we used any pieces in there that were longer than 40 inches. I was able to find all of them in a dumpster at a construction site in less than 5 minutes. Now, I don't know, might not be showroom quality, but if you wanted to buy something that size at the store, you'd probably be out over $100. And the whole entire project took me less than an hour and a half. I basically had to rush through it and do it while my kid was napping, which is totally fine. We made it work. If we had taken more time, it might look a little bit better, but for our purposes, this is absolutely fine. And the best part is we have all these longest 2x6s and 2x4s left. So now we're gonna have to build something else. I don't know what yet, but make sure and hit that subscribe button if you wanna see.